Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Larry McIntosh, and I'll be your host for the next hour every Saturday morning from 8 to 9. Thank you for tuning in. If you are involved in a school or daycare fundraising this fall, I hope you register for the Farm to School Manitoba Veggie fundraiser. This fundraiser is open to all schools and licensed daycares anywhere in Manitoba. Basically, the fundraiser works like this. The student sells bundles of Manitoba-grown, peak-of-the-market vegetables to raise money for their school or daycare. Bundle A has carrots, cooking onions, and red potatoes and sells for $10. And Bundle B has larger packs of carrots, red potatoes, and cooking onions, as well as green cabbage and parsnips, and it sells for $20. Each bundle comes with a reusable bag that is great for grocery shopping. The outstanding thing about this fundraiser is that the school or daycare keeps half the selling price, a 50% profit, which is good for any fundraiser. Last year, this fundraiser raised over $411,000 for Manitoba schools and daycares. That's what they kept, $411,000. The fundraiser runs from September until December, but you can register for it any time now. And again, it's open to all schools and daycares anywhere in Manitoba. If you're interested in getting more information on the Farm to School fundraiser or to register your school or daycare, please visit their website at farmtoschool.ca. That's farmtoschool.ca, or we have a link at our website, peakmarket.com. My guest this morning is Shawn, Provincial Director of the Canadian Red Cross. Good morning, Shawn.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
You know, we have lots of things to talk about, and as I was researching for this interview today, you know, there's lots of things to do in Manitoba, Canada, and the world, but I think we have to start off with Nepal.
Definitely. It's a tragedy what's happened over the last couple of weeks, and the Red Cross has been there right from the very beginning. The Canadian Red Cross was in there very shortly after it happened, and it's nice to see all the support that we're getting from Manitobans.
And you think about the disaster. I mean, an earthquake that's more than 7,000 people lost their lives, or 8,000 people. I forget what the last number is. It's hard to imagine. Number of people that are homeless, millions needing help in some remote areas, and organizations like yours come in there and help out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's important to understand how the Red Cross works. There's about 185 Red Cross or Red Crescent movements across the world. So 185 different countries will have a Red Cross or Red Crescent society in their country. If something happens in their country and it's beyond the capability of that Red Cross, then they will call what is called the International Committee on the Red Cross, which is a coordinating body that will work with the other Red Crosses to get the supplies, the people, the equipment in that might be needed. So it's very much a coordinated effort before something happens, during, and afterwards. And the Red Cross is there for a long period of time. If we remember Haiti over 5 years ago with the earthquake there, the Canadian Red Cross is still there. Once these disasters leave the mainstream media, there's still a lot of work to be done. So the Red Cross is there right till the end, from before the start, preparing for, responding to, and helping the people afterwards for a long period of time.
And interesting when you say the media. It's when I was looking up for new figures on what's happening there, and you look back a week ago, there was lots on it. But now there was another earthquake this week, obviously, but it's not as well covered because it's already happening and we've moved on to other things, but certainly not for those people's lives.
Exactly. And like you said, there was a second earthquake earlier this week, and more people passed away. The buildings themselves are weakened. There's over 600,000 homes that have either been destroyed or have been severely damaged by the earthquake. The second earthquake caused more damage and more buildings to collapse. The Canadian Red Cross is we have a field hospital in Nepal, in a small town where the hospital was basically leveled. So we have our field hospital that has capabilities for doing surgery and have treat up to 400 people a day coming through for regular what normally a hospital would be used for.
Right.
Our main focus right now is around deliveries. We get a lot of people presenting to our field hospital to give birth.
Right. And I heard about that. I think it was in Haiti. I heard about that when back then that life goes on. I mean, women are still having children, and
Exactly.
it all doesn't stop because of that.
That's right,
for
and,
those,
regular
people.
health care as well.
Yes.
So there's the emergency side with the broken bones because of buildings and furniture and that sort of thing falling on people and whatever else. But life goes on, and we are hearing back from some of our Canadians in Nepal that in some areas markets are being opened again. So there's some normalcy starting to happen. In the rural areas, though, it's still hard to get to. Roads are blocked, landslides, that sort of thing, and helicopters are, in a lot of places, the only way of getting to those small villages. What we did a year and a half ago with the typhoon in the Philippines is we also sent a hospital to Ormoc, which is a small town in the Philippines. And what we do is we rely on the host Red Cross team. They know the language, they know the culture, and we support the Red Cross and the local other teams. So when we set up the hospital there, we were there for about 6 weeks. We're self-sufficient for about 2 to 3 months, depending on the configuration of the hospital that we sent. But we were needed for about 6 weeks. As the regular hospital came online, we were able to pull back a little bit. We trained the Red Cross there. We left the hospital in the Philippines. So it's all about building capacity in the countries that are affected.
We're talking with Shawn Feely from the provincial director of the Canadian Red Cross. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. I'm Larry McIntosh. Food and Friends Radio is on TV. Each radio show is filmed and we post it on Mytoba.ca later today. So if you want to see the TV version of this or previous radio shows, please visit Mytoba.ca. Thanks to 680 CJOB's Nicole, who produces our show, and Riley, who operates the camera, as well as the teachers of the Broadcasting and Media Arts program at TechVoc High School. You can also listen to an audio podcast of Food and Friends at soundcloud.com or at the iTunes Store. So please just do a search for Food and Friends with Larry at Mytoba.ca or soundcloud.com or at the iTunes Store, and all the shows will come up for your listening or viewing pleasure. It's very important for me to mention that Food and Friends is only available because of 680 CJOB and its advertisers. So please make sure you tune in every Saturday morning at 8 or listen live at cjob.com. We're back with Shawn Feely, Provincial Director of the Canadian Red Cross. And we're just talking off air about, the Red Cross is known for helping disasters all over the world, but people also need help right here in Canada sometimes.
Exactly. One of our catchphrases is we're available for disasters across the street and across the world. So disaster, the term disaster means many different things to many different people. And if someone has a house fire, that's a disaster to them. So the Canadian Red Cross is available to support those who have personal disasters. So if you have a house fire, and in some cases people don't have the social safety net to help them out, or some of the other response systems aren't quite there yet, the Canadian Red Cross will support those individuals for up to the first 72 hours until other systems kick into place. So it could be shelter, food, clothing, whatever the individuals need. We also are always preparing for and respond to larger disasters, be it local, municipal kind of disasters that we support municipal governments, or last year when we had flooding in the West again. We always have flooding here in Manitoba, except for this year so far.
Hopefully,
anyways.
Yes.
That's right. Last year with the severe rain events, a lot of people were flooded out. There's still about 500 people who were flooded from their homes last year that the Red Cross is supporting. So you never know when these sort of things happen, but like I said, we prepare for by pre-positioning supplies, training volunteers, recruiting volunteers. We couldn't do what we do without the help of our volunteers. We have disaster management volunteers that will help work directly with those people who have been affected. We have people in administration, people in finance, people who work on our advisory committee. So if anyone's interested in looking at volunteering for the Red Cross, we have a position for you.
Oh, great. So if they wanted information on volunteering, where would they go for that?
They can go directly to recruitment.ca. There's a lot of good information on there.
Okay. And volunteers in our province, I won't say there's an abundance of them, but we seem to do, that seems to be in our DNA that we want to volunteer and get involved and donate as well. But you think about things all over the world, but with Calgary a few years ago, it's down the road from where we are, but Calgary had that massive flood and had to clean up.
That was one of the largest movement of people in such a short period of time because of a natural disaster in Canada. 100,000 people were displaced, some for a very short period of time. Some are still displaced at this point in time. So we require volunteers at the time and also for the longer term as well. So we used about 1,000 volunteers on that event in Alberta.
And Alberta certainly bounced back quickly and put the stampede on, and it was quite amazing to see what could happen. And responding to something like that in Canada, where there's other support mechanisms in place, is great, having the volunteers and the money to do that. And then obviously with your other associations with the other Red Crosses, you can do things all over the world.
Exactly. And the people who are responding can't do it without the fundraising as well. So we have fundraising volunteers, and it's a great thing to see. I've only been with the Red Cross for 3 years, and I didn't realize how complicated yet how simple it is, and how large the Red Cross movement is.
And people do donate to the Red Cross and other organizations when international disasters happen. The government matches sometimes, and people really donate to that. But the functions for being ready for a disaster in Manitoba, you get a lot of donations for that, or is that a little harder?
It's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Some are based on grants, some are different agreements for services, but it is definitely harder. Preparation isn't as... it's important, but in donors' eyes, it may not be as necessary, or it doesn't come to mind. So the Red Cross welcomes all donations. We respect our donors. We report back to our donors. But you're right. Raising money to prepare for something that will happen eventually is a hard job to do.
So if you're looking to volunteer or donate, go to redcross.ca and get all the information there. We'll be right back with Shawn Feely, Provincial Director of the Canadian Red Cross, after we take this break for your cottage country weather. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Food and Friends. I'm Larry McIntosh, and it's time for a recipe segment called Now We're Cooking. You don't need to write this recipe down, as is today's recipe of the day at peakmarket.com and in today's Winnipeg Free Press. Today's recipe is peach and almond salad. Peach and almond salad. This sounds very summery. Speaking of summery, Manitoba-grown asparagus is now in your local store. So that's always the first sign of summer for me, is when asparagus starts coming out. So it's only around for 6 more weeks because it's only a 7-week crop. So buy some this weekend. Here's what you need for this recipe. Back to the peach and almond salad. You need spinach washed and trimmed, large mushrooms sliced, Carrara cheese grated, red seedless grapes, fresh peach slices, toasted almonds, mayonnaise, orange juice concentrate, and ground cinnamon. And this recipe serves 6. If you're interested in viewing the full recipe, again, it's at today's recipe of the day at peakmarket.com and in today's Winnipeg Free Press. You can also have recipes at your fingertips through Peak of the Market's free recipe app, and that has over 4,000 recipes. It's available for your smartphone or iPad, and there's lots of great features on that, on the Peak Recipes app, including search options, including keywords like potatoes or chickens. You can also rate recipes so you know which ones you like better and add them to your favorites list. You can add the ingredients to a shopping list. You can add notes to the recipes like Larry's favorite, or add more vegetables next time. There's lots of flexibility, and it's available for the Android, BlackBerry, and iPhones, as well as your iPad. Peak Recipe app is available free at all the app stores. We'll be right back with Shawn Feely, a Provincial Director for the Canadian Red Cross, after we take this break for your news, sports, and weather. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Larry McIntosh. Peak of the Market is on Twitter. Please follow us at Peak of the Market for recipes and Food and Friends guest updates. We have over 200,000 Twitter followers, and we'd love to have you follow us too. Again, we're at Peak of the Market, or you can follow me at Larry McIntosh. We're back with Shawn Feely, Provincial Director for the Canadian Red Cross. So we were talking before the news about disaster things in Manitoba, preparedness, I guess would be the way to put it. But you also deliver a lot of programs, education programs, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, over the last couple of years, about 150 to 160,000 Manitobans will take one of our programs, be it our violence and abuse prevention program, our water safety, first aid, or injury prevention. So some we do direct delivery, some we have training partners that will deliver those programs.
So 160,000, is that what you said?
Yeah, 150 to 160,000 will.
That's a high percentage of Manitobans.
It's a high percentage. Some might be participating in one of our events. That's a short-term event. About 20,000 people, 15 to 20,000 people, depending on the year, will participate in our Day of Pink, which is a bullying prevention program that we work with schools and youth groups to. And we provide resources to these schools to do things around the prevention of bullying. For example, one school last year worked with a spoken word artist who worked with the grade 6 students to define what is a safe place for them. And they just started with putting words on the walls, on flip charts and things like that. Then they turned that into poetry. And then they turned it into rap songs that they performed to an audience of about 500 friends and family at the school. And then they did a march. So the Red Cross works with groups and schools to provide programs that are based in respect. So healthy youth relationships that provide things like, what does a healthy relationship look like, and if it doesn't look that way, what sort of things can you do to remove yourself from that healthy relationship?
What other types of programs are there?
Oh, we have an injury prevention program that is geared for new Canadians that looks at very basic injury prevention things, such as what is frostbite. You have somebody coming from Africa, coming into a place that has minus 35 degrees and a wind chill. What is a wind chill? What are some of the laws around car seats and things like that? So very basic information that we take for granted, but new people coming to this city or to this province need a little bit more information. And then water safety, first aid programs. We train about 70,000 people each year in water safety, and about 35 to 40,000 people each year in different levels of first aid.
So you're known for different programs, and I what do you think you're most known for at the Red Cross?
I think it's depending on what perspective you come from, but generally speaking, by and large, people relate the Red Cross to disasters and also conflict areas around the world. But those people with young kids, remember, they know swimming lessons. So it's depending on your perspective.
And you also have an event coming up in September. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's our Humanitarian of the Year award. We have a young humanitarian and don't want to say old humanitarian, but someone who's not young. And each year we honor these people. Right now we have posted on our website nominations. And we have an event in September, mid-September, a luncheon that we honor these individuals. So
if people know somebody that should be nominated, where would they get the information?
They can go to our website, redcross.ca, and be on the Manitoba section.
So there's a Manitoba section within the
That's correct.
.ca. So then this is about recognizing people that have done something above and beyond.
That's right. And we've honored people in the past who are university professors. We've had Gail Asper, Albert L. Tassi.
Sure. Both have been on the show previously.
Hannah Taylor from the Ladybug Foundation. So it's a wide variety of individuals. Moxie Adams last year, who works with he works with people in refugees camps, helping to provide education to these individuals. So if you know anybody, please visit our website and nominate them.
So what is your favorite part of your job?
Not knowing what I'll be doing. It's definitely helping people, trying to make a difference. The Red Cross has so many different programs, and we touch so many different people. So I don't know what's going to come into my office, what sort of issue is raised. And the Red Cross basically is we're a deliverer of programs, but we're also problem solvers. So it's a wonderful job for myself.
And how many coworkers do you have there
Over
in Manitoba?
Yeah, we have about 70 Red Cross staff, and we have approximately 350 to 400 volunteers. The vast majority of those volunteers are disaster management volunteers.
So they're on standby, so to speak. Would that be?
Yeah, if you're a disaster management volunteer, there's an understanding that you may be called in on short notice. We have 2 people right now in Nepal from Manitoba, a physician and a nurse. We sent 5 people from Manitoba to Sierra Leone to work with the Ebola clinics.
All right. Yes.
So we have Manitoba volunteers, but they're also, depending on your training and your experience, you may be deployed other parts of the world as well.
And I think it's amazing that people put their names on a list, so to speak, ready to do something, whether it's a flood in Manitoba or something overseas, depending on their expertise and their abilities, is amazing.
That's right, exactly.
We'll be right back with Shawn Feely, Provincial Director from the Canadian Red Cross, after we take this break. Welcome back. I'm Larry McIntosh. I hope you've had a chance to see Peak of the Market Sesame Street potato bags featuring 9 different Sesame Street characters. Along with the characters, you'll still see the Peak of the Market logo, so you're guaranteed it is grown right here in Manitoba. And there's still Peak of the Market russet, red, and yellow potatoes available in your store, so go out and check those potato bags. We're very pleased to partner with Sesame Street on the Eat Brighter program. And the Sesame Street Eat Brighter program is all about encouraging children as well as adults to eat more fruits and vegetables. We're back with Shawn Feely, Provincial Director for the Canadian Red Cross. We're just talking off air. Living in Winnipeg, I think of flooding, but forest fires to many communities is also a disaster that happens in our province.
You're absolutely right. And this year, like we said earlier, that flooding was not an issue in the south. To my knowledge, it wasn't an issue in the north. Also, the water tables are down. Forest fires obviously will become an issue, or may become an issue, depending on the rain we get over the next few weeks to a month or so.
Yeah, we were in Brandon a couple of weeks ago, and we saw the flood into the park there. And I think that happens quite often. You think, oh, yeah, Mother Nature really goes where she wants to go to a large degree.
You're absolutely right. There's a lot of work by the governments, doing mitigation sort of things. But when Mother Nature wants to dump a whole bunch of water down on you, or if the fire or the forests are tinder dry and a lightning strike and we have fires, and people who will have to be evacuated from the home because of fires, usually because of health issues. They have chronic diseases already. Maybe the people are on dialysis, that sort of thing. So they're the ones who are first evacuated, and that's where the Red Cross this year, for the first time in Manitoba, are helping to work with First Nations communities and lead evacuations to a host community. And usually host communities are going to be Winnipeg, Brandon, sometimes other places, depending on the host community's ability to absorb some of those people with the health concerns.
Right. And you were saying the last half hour, disaster is relative. Your house burns down, that's a disaster to you. Nepal, we talked about, obviously a huge disaster for the citizens there. But you're available, whether it's obviously Manitoba is where you're located, but you're available all over the world through your different associations.
Exactly, and across Canada as well. So if we have something like in 2011 when there was lots of flooding, we brought in other volunteers and other staff from across Canada. We don't work via provincial boundaries. And we have good working relationships with the Canadian Red Cross, and we're developing better relationships with the Mexican Red Cross. So if something large happens, like bigger than what happened in Alberta, something on the West Coast maybe, then we have a working relationship with the other international Red Crosses. So we work across borders.
So fundraising is always an issue.
Definitely, and for many different organizations, there's Manitobans are very, very generous, and we definitely appreciate that and respect that. We, in times of when there's a large natural disaster, Manitobans open up their hearts and their pocketbook, which is great, and corporations as well. So it's wonderful to see.
And Peak of the Market Growers have been there, and I'm not tooting our horn, so to speak, but Peak of the Market Growers have challenged other businesses to give to some of the disasters that happened over the years that they've contributed to.
And you have been very generous to the Red Cross in the past number of years, and we really thank you for that. And unfortunately, these disasters will always happen, so we just hope people will consider the Red Cross when these things do happen.
And you also want to consider the Red Cross when preparing for things to happen right here in our own backyard.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yes, exactly.
So if they go to the Red Cross website, redcross.ca, you can donate there. And does that money come back to Manitoba, or how does that work?
You can designate it.
Okay.
So if you want to give to Nepal, and there's a few other funds that you have a choice to designate it. But if you just want to give it to, and we will find the area of greatest need, then we'll do that. But it's a donor's choice for the most part if you go to our website. Or you can come down to our office, 1111 Portage Avenue, and if you want to have a conversation with a real live person versus a website, we're more than willing to do that as well.
And volunteers. Are you looking for more volunteers, or do you have enough on standby already?
No, we are in a recruitment drive right now.
Okay.
And again, preparing for the fire season. We anticipate there's going to be a lot of fires. So we are in a recruitment drive. Again, the best place to go is to redcross.ca.
You were saying earlier there's some Manitobans in Nepal helping out, and we talked about Ebola and all sorts of things where people actually volunteer to go put themselves in harm's way to some degree, and it's amazing.
It takes a very special kind of person to volunteer to go to those kind of locations, and we had 5 people go to Sierra Leone. Right now we have 2 people from Manitoba that are in Nepal. With the typhoon in the Philippines, we had at least another 6 or 7 other people who went from Manitoba, and it's wonderful to see. It really is.
And hats off to all volunteers, wherever you volunteer, whatever organization you do, however you help the community or the world in this case. I find that totally amazing. And Manitobans are certainly known for that. And I think we take pride in it, and I think it's just something we do naturally, but it must make you feel good when you see some of that.
It does. And I see people in the office all the time. We have one person comes in once a week for a full day to help out and just enter data into our computer system. We have another gentleman who comes 3 or 4 times a year to take our fleet vehicles in to get oil changes and to get the tires changed and just maintain things like that. So we have opportunities for many types of volunteers.
And again, information on the website. Does it give an idea of what type of volunteer positions are available?
You can contact through the website. It'll give you some phone numbers. And if you want to talk to a real live person, we can direct your call and have a conversation.
So consider donating to the Red Cross or volunteering for the Red Cross right here in our province or around the world. That's all at redcross.ca. We're talking with Shawn Feely, Provincial Director of the Canadian Red Cross. And we're going to take your break for a break for the Cottage Country weather update. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Food and Friends. Please join me this Monday, May 18th at noon for a special Victoria Day edition of Food and Friends. My guest on Monday will be Heidi Reimer-Epp from Botanical Paperworks. Heidi will tell us how you can plant their note paper or greeting cards and then watch it grow into flowers or herbs and, of course, vegetables. Now that's truly recycling your paper because you get some plants out of it. My guest today has been Shawn Feely, Provincial Director of the Canadian Red Cross. Shawn, I've learned a lot about the Red Cross in our conversation today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a wonderful pleasure to be here.
And I think it's important that people keep in mind of the world events, but also get ready for things that forest fires, floods, all the things that you do right here in our own province.
Exactly, because like I said, a disaster can happen anywhere in any time.
Well, thank you for you and your coworkers and all the volunteers of the Canadian Red Cross for everything you do.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Shawn, for being on Food and Friends, and join me on Monday at noon for a special Victoria Day edition of Food and Friends. Take care, everybody, and please don't forget to eat your veggies.